Welcome to my channel. Today we're building a Tamiya TT02 chassis with a Ford Escort body on top. This is one of the first Tamiya kits we're building on YouTube. I have built a few kits in the past, and we're going to start with the top shaft. So I've got C5, which is this part here, something like this. It says on there to put some grease, so we'll put some grease in here where the bushing goes. Don't want too much grease because we are going to upgrade at a later time to bearings. Now I've got BB2 in, and we've got to get GB3. To get GB3, it says to put more grease, so we'll put some more grease. And you'll fill up grease in there. So that should be enough grease in there. And we get an A7, which is a small pin. If ever you're not sure of if you've got the correct part, on the instructions, if you put the part next to the thing, it will match up. It will be exactly that. You can see if they're exactly the same, and that's how you will know 100% that you've got the right part. As we go through the build, we'll be using different screws in different places, and some of these screws will show up as different part number. So now I've got the spur gear in. Now to get that in, I need to put more grease again, just in here on the shaft, just a bit. Like I said, we're not planning on keeping the bushing for long. We just want to see how it handles as a standard Tamiya RC car first, before we start spending money on buying bearings and stuff, just to get an idea on the kind of speeds, differences and battery run times we could get. Now we're onto the prop shaft. So we've got the prop shaft and we've got C5 again, and with C5 we've got two bushings, but before I do the bushings I need to get some grease on the shaft. We've got a bit there. A bit more. Now you don't need a lot of grease because these are plastic bushings. I mean, not long lasting anyway, but it's enough to get the model started for now and to get an idea on what we're up with. My future builds will probably come with bearings, but I mean on this particular one we've opted for bushes. So that's the prop shaft all built up now. We'll go off to step 5, which is the chassis. So this is a Tamiya chassis. This is a TT02 chassis to be precise, but I really like them because they're very strong. You can see they're a plastic tub design, so you know, even if you were to jump or crash it into something, it won't buckle or crack easily or break. Now we've got that in, and I've forgotten a step. I forgot D15. After all these years of making models, and I've actually forgotten D15. Right, we're in. Now we get D2, which is a clamp like this onto the clamp shaft to hold it into place. with MA2 screws. Now this is what I was talking about earlier with the metal rod. If you've got a screw right here and it says MA2 but you're not sure if it's the correct screw, all you got to do is bring it right next to it and you see it matches, and once it matches you know it's the correct screw. Just start that off and start this one off, and I'll grab my screwdriver and just tighten these two up. Right, so step 5 is done. I know it says about greasing the 2 gears, but we'll do that in a minute. Right, we're coming up to step 6, and before I do step 6 I will just dab a bit of grease on this just to stop myself from forgetting, because you don't want to forget this. Now that's enough, because by the time it spins around it will move. So that's the grease in place now. We're off to step number 6, which is to build the differential. So this is what it will look like when it's all done. I'll just leave it there for a second and I'll get the bits ready for the next step. So you can see when you build the diff, you've got the bottom section there, which is the actual housing, and you've got the gear, and the gear's got the cover on there as well. And you've got 2 of these G2s and 4 of the G3s, and then again you've got screws, but these are MF5 screws. The same thing again, just to be sure. You can see it fits perfectly onto the instruction manual, so we know it's the correct one. I'll leave it right next to it so you can have another look at it. So the next thing is this gear here. This one goes in this way. Oops. That's it. That's the gear in. Now I'm not going to bother greasing that, and you might ask me why, but you'll see. Once I've put these in, I'll put grease on here, and that grease is going to transfer onto the other side. So now I've got all the 4 gears in place. All I do is put a bit of grease in here. You don't need a lot right now, because we're trying to find out how good it will be. In my future videos we'll be looking at modifying and adding parts which are hop-ups. So now I've got the gear in my hand, I've got to put it in. You can see these 4 squares, and they will match up to this. That's it. So that's one diff built. You then take these screws, the MA5s, and screw them in. So that you go. There's a diff that we've built. And now we go off to the next step, which is step number 7. Step number 7 is this one right here. So you get this grease again, put some more grease on the outside. Just a bit we need. Same goes on the other side. And we get the metal bushing again. And get it in. We're into the chassis. We've got drive there, so we know we've done it correctly. Now we get MA2 on top, and we get these 4 MA2 screws. Sorry, I meant A4 cover and MA2 screws. You'll see that I haven't fully tightened the screws because I want to get all of them in first. Now I've got all 4 screws in. Now look at tightening them up. Last one. So we've got that in now. We go off to step number 8. Step number 8 is one here. These 2 arms and this part here. So step number 8, the first thing we're going to do is A2, which is this plastic part here with 2 MA2 screws, and they'll go in. There. It just slides straight in. You can see it's got these holes in there, and you just slide it straight in. 2 screws. So yeah, we've done A2, we've put two 3x10mm screws. Now the fun starts, and it's these arms. They have these bowls inside, and see, they move around, and it took me a while to figure out how it goes in. It's a funny type design, but it's something that we need to do, and it's right there. So that's what the bowl looks like, and to get them in, you can see you've got to snap them in, and they go in that direction, so you get your arm like this, and you get it in at that angle and push down. Once you've got it to that level, you can just turn it, and that's it. It'll stay in place. So the next thing is to put the arms into place, and when you put the arms in, you've got to make sure that part stays at the back. And another one here. And then finally you've got A7 going in there. Move it over to this side, and we've got to put two screws in on here. Again, MA2s, 3x10. So there we have it. We've got the two upper arms in place, and we've got the hangers on there. Now we're going to go off to step number 10. Step number 10 is the rear. So we're going to do the rears now, which is 4 of the MA2 screws, 2 of the metal sleeves. There you go. We can be sure that we've got the correct ones, because it says metal bearing and metal, and that's it. They match, so we know we're on the right track. Now before we fit this diff on, because I made it before to make sure everything fitted correctly, I purposely didn't put any grease in there. So now I will put some grease in this rear diff, so I don't have to open it straight away, or end up with a blown diff on the first battery one. In my other videos we'll be talking about maintenance, and we'll be stripping cars down, so I would suggest that you subscribe to my YouTube channel, and I'll be putting more videos in, and this way you can keep in touch with us and keep up to date with our future builds. So there you see, just add a little bit more grease in there. That's all we need, just that much grease in there. That should be more than enough. Keep the gears happy. Right, there we have it. We have another grease stiff. So the next thing I do now is, because we've got these metal bushes going over here, so we'll just add a bit of grease in there. And the same on the other side. Just a bit of grease. Just helps the bushes from sliding. And the same on this side. And then once we've got this on, we will lower it onto the car. The next thing is to put A4, which is this thing here, onto the chassis. And we've got 4 of the 3x10 screws going in. Again, as you can see, I'm just starting them off first. Not fully tightening still. Now I can go around and tighten them.